Hey guys, Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's GTA 5 video, we're going to be hearing from Rockstar Games insider Tez Funds 2 on how Rockstar could potentially introduce one of the most fan-requested features in Grand Theft Auto Online that people have been asking and clamoring for years now. How it might work, what they would have to do, and a whole lot more. So right now on the GTA forum site, there's a lot of speculation about what Rockstar is going to do next, what players ultimately want to see with the biggest DLC ever, a new heist in an entirely new location that we know is going to be coming out later this year. In fact, even in a video we did earlier, Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick was even asked about that update and if he had anything to share. He obviously didn't. He said he was going to leave that to Rockstar. And we haven't heard anything new from Rockstar, which has still prompted a lot of speculation here. And one of the big questions and one of the big things that players keep coming back to is the idea of mansions. A new property, a new place to live that would be the ultimate living quarters for our Grand Theft Auto Online characters. And at this point in time, we've had a ton of different properties, residential ones like small houses and apartments, and we've even had stilt houses, which for the longest time people consider those to be mansions, but they're not really mansions, and they don't offer really anything in terms of like unique things to do for our characters. And there's been obviously a ton of business properties in the game, whether that's yachts or whether that's, CEO offices, underground locations like bunkers and the facilities. But we've never seen Rockstar introduce mansions. And I think the reason for that is because, as you guys know, Los Santos is modeled after Los Angeles. There is a ton of huge mansions in Los Angeles that Rockstar have recreated in Los Santos. And if you just drive around, you'll see all these beautiful big houses where we don't have access to any of them. And it kind of seems like a no-brainer for Rockstar to introduce something like that. And so because of that, year after year after year of not getting mansions added into the game, players have always been wondering why Rockstar haven't done this and what's stopping them. And so a couple of days ago, a user on the thread, Buttertoast, said, "I know it's said every time a DLC is coming out, but what are the chances we actually get mansions? Pretty sure the community has made it clear they want it, and I doubt Rockstar have no idea we want this. I'm just wondering why we haven't received mansions yet. Is it possible? Is there a reason we haven't received mansions yet? I need answers." And we heard from Rockstar Games insider Tez Funds 2, who said this: "I think the obstacle or the issue at hand is how it should be approached from a design perspective. Like how to make a mansion truly feel like it's yours. Because the curtailage of a mansion should be big and vast enough. And that puts us in a similar situation when we were discussing the casino roof. Like, how could they provide us a safe space? And the popular assumption was some sort of protective bubble encompassing it, only to turn out it's just an exposed open space area, which wasn't much of a big deal, mainly due to how the casino is technically a global space. However, I can hardly see them pulling it off with mansions in the same way, because you don't want to see two dudes battling it out on your front yard when you walk out of your palazzo to freshen up a little bit. It could work out in a new place, assuming the entirely new location is an island or a new city, with some sort of restrictive measures or something like that. Or it could operate in the same way as the casino, a residence of the highest class marked with 5 stars with S on it. It could allow other players to enjoy the scenery while offering you ample space to experience your own personal entertainment." Okay, so we've got a lot to break down there, and he essentially says that there's a couple of issues that Rockstar would have to get around. The first is from a design perspective, because the mansions are going to have to be massive and vast, and there's going to have to be differences to the properties we already have in game. Certainly different levels of customization, and I would also feel like you would have to completely change how the properties work in game, because there's going to be aspects of the mansion that would take place outside of the actual living quarters, whether that's a pool in the backyard, whether that's a living space outside that you would want access to from your house. And that was always one of the most frustrating things about the stilt houses that Rockstar added back in the Executives and Other Criminals DLC, was a lot of these houses had cool outdoor spaces that you could just only look at and wave from the inside. You couldn't actually get access to. So that's the first thing. And then the next part is how they would provide us with a safe space. because Grand Theft Auto Online is its own worst enemy here when it comes to adding something pretty casual and posh like a big luxury mansion, because of how many other things there are in the game, like the Oppressor Mark IIs and all the weaponized vehicles and the orbital cannons. Now, moving on to the next thing that was brought up, this idea of a protective bubble. I think that's interesting because I had always thought this idea would work really well for things like car shows and whatnot, because that was always one of the big problems. You had like a lot of group of people, expensive cars. It was like basically like Griefer City. It was like, how could you not want to take an Oppressor Mark II and just blow the whole thing up? So that was like the first thing for that, and maybe that could work. We see something similar like that in Fort Zancudo, where like the second you enter, you get like a 4-star wanted level. And we also sort of see that with the yachts, how there's like the defense system on there. I don't think it's out of the range of possibility that the mansions, wherever they take place, if they are a thing, could have something like that as well, where you either have an area that gives you like 5 stars and makes it so not fun to go to and so not worth it that players just don't, or there's some defense system that keeps things peaceful, but like the second you enter, it sort of becomes like a no-fly zone or a no like entry zone. Now, the one big difference that he ends up bringing up is how it works with the casino versus how it would work for a private property. So the casino is obviously a public space, just like casinos are in real life. You know, people come and go. You're allowed to see strangers there. If you owned a mansion, you probably wouldn't want to see strangers just waltzing around your property. So that's the big difference right there. And every other property in game, it makes sense for other people to be waltzing around there. Apartments and the CEO offices, you would expect that multiple executives would work at that office or multiple people would live at that apartment. The only time it gets kind of weird is like what we've seen with the stilt homes, because multiple people can actually share those. So I think to a degree, there's naturally just going to be a little bit of awkwardness. I don't think Rockstar can get away with that. That's just how it's going to work in Grand Theft Auto Online. But I think those do offer some interesting ways in which mansions could operate. Now, the last thing he brings up is how it could work in an entirely new place. And he assumes that it's going to be an entirely new location, an island, or a new city. If it is an island, people have been speculating like the Santa Catalina Island, which is actually off the coast of Los Angeles. Like it's a real life place that a lot of like millionaires and billionaires go to. Maybe that's where Rockstar could establish the mansions, and the only way to get to that island would be if you owned one, or, it would have like the same defense mechanisms on there, or if it's an entirely new city, like Liberty City, Vice City, for example. Who knows? That's me just thinking way outside of the box. Maybe that's something that Rockstar could do and how they could implement that. And I think that's honestly the hardest part, because the other aspects I think are relatively easy. They've already got the in-game websites to establish mansions. They could create a brand new in-game website if they weren't satisfied with the current ones. So I think the hardest part of this entire thing is the execution, not so much the idea. I'm pretty sure like the ideas are already there. In fact, the assets are already there. Like mansions are already scattered about Los Santos and San Andreas. So it would just be how Rockstar went about executing it, and how they went about, managing what's already in GTA Online and how that could impact the idea and the actual mansions themselves if Rockstar were to add them. So I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know how you think that this could work in GTA Online, mansions, and the idea of, Rockstar actually adding those into the game, since players have been asking for them basically for like 7 years now. Let me know what you guys are thinking in those comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you want to stay up to date on all the latest GTA and Red Dead Redemption videos that I'm doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.